we're not in the statements. We'll let you guys make the statements. We're just going to line up and play against those that we're scheduled to play against. And they were next. And I'm glad we were able to get the job done. But, we got a significant challenge in the form of the Tennessee Titans coming up this week.
Everybody, welcome to the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. I'm Missi Matthews. As you heard Coach Tomlin there, he wants the media to make the statement, so that's why I have a great panel on hand today to recap the Steelers' 38-7 win over the Cleveland Browns yesterday here at Heinz Field. Craig Wolfley, former Steelers offensive lineman, a lot to talk about with him today joining us. Also, we have Matt Williamson from Steelers Nation Radio on hand to give us a recap. And Pomp and Ain't Easy, Bob Pompeani joining us from his man cave to break down the Steelers' first AFC North win. So guys, starting the season 5-0, a little unexpected bye week earlier on. We will be playing the Titans this weekend. Hopefully we'll knock on wood for that. We'll talk about that as the week goes on, but a statement win, in my opinion. I know Coach Tomlin won't take it that far, so we're going to play a little game today called Fill in the Blank. Wolf, you get to go first. Beating the Browns was
a beatdown of magnificent proportions.
Okay. Matt,
you
you're
want me
up next.
to expand on it?
What's that?
Oh, no, I was just talking.
It's okay.
It's just talking.
All right, Matt, you fill in the blank. Beating the Browns was?
Very similar to what Wolf said. I was going to say Mike Tyson-esque.
Okay, I like that. All right, Pomp, get creative here. Beating the Browns was?
Like easy as Sunday morning.
Man, everybody is bringing their A game today. Okay, let's get a little more expansive here. So filling in the blank, Wolf, you're first again. Blank impressed me the most yesterday.
Oh, it's got to be the third down defense. I mean, you go from giving up 10 third down conversions to the Eagles. Then you turn around and make the Browns go 1 of 12 on third down and 0 of 3 on fourth. Boy, that's got to be it for me.
Okay, Matt, your turn to fill in the blank. Who impressed you the most and why?
I went with the role players. Robert Spillane stepping in for Bush after the injury. James Washington abusing single coverage. Kevin Dotson making us not miss David DeCastro, which is a huge feat. How about the special teams? Chris Boswell makes all his kicks, but I loved his kickoffs. I mean, dropping it in that corner, and the coverage teams overall, but especially Alex Highsmith. I mean, how many great Steelers got their start making big special teams plays like Highsmith is?
All right, Pomp, who impressed you the most against the Browns?
I would go with the front three on the defense. I thought Stephon Tuitt played his best game. Disruptive. Cam Hayward, a lot of people were questioning why the Steelers would sign him at age 31. Well, he's had his 3 best years, and boy, he's picking right up. I think he's having a Pro Bowl season. And every time Alualu gets in there and does something, it's really good. So those 3 guys, I thought, set the tone. And that allowed pressure. And, I agree with Matt and Wolf both. There's so many ways you can look at this game and so many things you can say were tremendous check marks in favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I'm going with those 3 guys in the trenches because they dominated the #1 rushing game in the NFL.
Okay, Matt, you mentioned Robert Spillane. Unfortunately, Devin Bush left the game. Coach Tomlin said following yesterday's win that it was a significant knee injury. We learned from national reports that it is unfortunately most likely his ACL. We'll get official word from Coach Tomlin tomorrow. So Spillane stepped up. He was wearing the green dot. Let's take a listen to him from earlier this morning.
Yeah, I wore the green dot this past Sunday when I got called in to play. And for me, it's comfortable. I like speaking to my teammates during and pre-snap. So I've gotten so comfortable with these guys over the past 2 years, and it really feels awesome because as soon as I stepped on the field, I felt like my teammates trusted me and they've respected the work that I've put in through the past 2 years. So they told me, Rob, you belong out here. This is what you're meant to do. So go out here and show everybody what we know you can do. And that felt really good to hear from them.
And interestingly enough, guys, Spillane was an undrafted rookie for the Tennessee Titans. They let go of him. Then he came up to Pittsburgh. So a lot of storylines going on heading into this game with the Titans that we'll get to later in the week. But he would not commit to wearing the green dot on Sunday in Tennessee. But let's talk about the loss of Devin Bush, somebody the Steelers liked enough to trade up 10 spots in last year's draft. So, Wolf, losing Devin Bush is blank to the Steelers defense.
Oh, it's just a huge hit. You know, I mean, this is the young man who hasn't missed a snap in 5 games, a young man who can run with tight ends, a young man who there's not a running back he can't stay step for step with, basically. And this guy was just growing in that knowledge base that you need to be able to be a terrific inside linebacker. You could see, as you watched him, his ability to read the plays and decipher what he's seen in front of him. He doesn't get lost in the crosstown traffic, and he beats guards to the spot, you know, where he's got to be in the running game. So all these elements that he brought with him, it's a big loss, that's for sure.
Okay, Matt, fill in the blank for us.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging, to say the least. I mean, I think we all realize Vince Williams is playing really well and probably the best of his career. I think that needs to be recognized. I think that they're going to play more dime going forward, although they play a lot of dime anyway. I would imagine Ulysses Gilbert now gets a hat on game day. He's a player I've been excited about, and I'm interested to see what Kevin Colbert's up to. Is he on the phones talking trade possibly?
Okay, Pomp, fill in the blank. Losing Devin Bush is blank to the Steelers defense.
Very disappointing and challenging, I think, as Matt said. Challenging because it's hard to replace a guy like that, not unlike what the Steelers went through with Ryan Shazier. You know, they tried different options. Sean Spence came in. It just, you can't replace him. Now, a lot of people think that the Steelers can go out and make a trade like they did last year with Minkah Fitzpatrick, but the difference, I think, is that, number one, they're not inclined to give up number 1 picks this easily. But there's a lot to play for this season. I think if they found something that made sense, but I don't think it's going to be that easy because Miami was in a sell-off. You know, they wanted to get rid of people. They were trying to accumulate draft picks, and I don't think that same situation is available. Having said that, I also believe that they love what they do with development of players. Spillane has been here now for over a year. He looked good. Whether or not that translates into an entire season of success, who knows? But they have guys they believe in, and they're willing to wait on them, which is why they don't just go knee-jerk and bring in guys all over the place. But it is disappointing and challenging at the same time.
Okay, guys, we were going to talk much more about the Steelers' win over the Browns right after this break. We'll be right back on The Point After.
The Steelers' official mobile app is your window into your favorite team. Behind-the-scenes access.
Oh, man, he is just running so hard.
Live audio, including game broadcasts.
That's what you call smart football.
Statistics. Press conferences and interviews. And Steelers Nation Unite exclusive access and benefits. That's all in the Steelers' official mobile app. Download it for free today.
Everybody, welcome back to the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. We have a lot to talk about in terms of the Steelers defense, so let's hear from Minkah Fitzpatrick following yesterday's game first.
We just changed up a couple of schematics. Decided to play a little tighter, a little bit more man-to-man, make them throw out of the pocket. And, I think we just did execute it better. I don't really believe we changed a whole lot. We just executed better. We practiced third and medium, third and long, a whole lot more this week in practice because, we played very poorly last week on third down.
All right, well, if you mentioned it earlier in the show, the Browns were 1 for 12 on third down. Not something that is exactly what we were talking about last week coming off of the win against the Eagles. So was it as simple as Minkah said, as just cleaning up some things?
Well, I think by and large, it's always about the performance. Look, the coaches don't put you in a position not to succeed. They're going to put you in the very best position to succeed. Therefore, most of the time, it's not about the X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and Joes. I mean, when you have a 3rd and 9 and you've got Miles Sanders coming your way, Mike Hilton, who is one of the surest tacklers in the open field, he whiffs on him, face plants. Bud Dupree went right by him like 2 ships passing in the night. So it's not about players being, or the coaches being, out X and O'd. It's about performance, and you clean those up, and certainly you saw that. I mean, you got Minkah magic happening. It was bound to happen. You can see that happen with Baker Mayfield. He tends to miss high, he rolls out deep, and he throws back across the field. So you kind of felt like Minkah was going to have a little bit of magic this past week.
Matt, Coach Tomlin, speaking of Minka's pick six, said after the game that it was about telling the Browns, you're not going to have an easy time converting on third downs. What did you like about the defense's performance yesterday?
I loved everything about it, to be very honest with you. I mean, obviously the third downs stand out, but history shows that great defenses rarely, they might have bad patches of bad red zone defense or bad third down defense, but it usually comes back to how well they play on first and second, and it extends to third down. I think we saw more of that. As Wolf mentioned, I mean, there were some fluky plays against the Eagles that didn't hold up in this game. One thing that really scared me even more than the Browns running game was Odell Beckham, and we saw nothing from him except for pouting on the sidelines. I thought that was tremendous. And as Pomp mentioned too, Tuitt is a wrecking machine, and if he stays healthy, which, you know, why wouldn't he? Man, was he just takes this defense up a level from where they were last year up front.
Bob, after the game, Kevin Stefanski from the Cleveland Browns said he pulled Baker Mayfield because he could not watch him get hit again. I think that is kind of a way to round up what the Steelers defense did to make him uncomfortable yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, that's that hit by Hayward was unbelievable. And he was sort of a victim of his own willingness to try to extend plays. That ball was in his hand too long, and he was kind of trapped, and he set himself up for that hit. And it was a perfectly legal hit, but it sends a little bit of message too. So I thought the key was just better down the field coverage. You know, I mean, they I think got a little complacent last week when they had 3rd and 9, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 17. And Carson Wentz, if you give him time, will find ways to do it, even with guys like Travis Fulgham as his receiving target. So this is a league where you got to make sure that you cover all spots of it. The secondary was outstanding, I thought. Nelson and Hayden were all over the place, and that, of course, when that happens, that makes it very difficult for a quarterback to throw into those sort of coverages when they're under a pressure. And he was under a lot of pressure yesterday, and that's the one thing about the Steelers that remains constant and will be needed this coming week.
Yeah, Wolf, Baker Mayfield, 10 for 18, 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, the 1 pick six to Minka we talked about, but also Cam Sutton getting a ball.
Oh, there's no question Cam Sutton made a nice play. You know, I mean, again, it's Baker throwing a little bit high. You know, the interesting thing about it to me was it really resulted from the physical beating, I think, that Baker Mayfield was undergoing. I know that he says his mama didn't raise no wuss. Okay, well, I got that, but you know, Cam Hayward, that's like dangling steak in front of a tiger, right? I mean, you're sitting there going, oh, you know, there's no problem. Well, as Cam said, our job was to remind him of his rib injury.
Matt, were you surprised that they were able to stop Kareem Hunt as much as they did yesterday?
To that degree, yes, I was a little surprised because that is an excellent running game. It's a very good, constructed, coached-up running game. It's a good offensive line. But to be very honest, nothing about this defense surprises me up front. I mean, what they did to Saquon Barkley in week 1 was just utterly amazing, and this was reminiscent.
Pomp, I know we're recapping, but it's hard not to look forward to Derrick Henry and the 5-0 Tennessee Titans, another tall task that's going to be up for the Steelers defense this upcoming week.
Right. I mean, just look what he did again last week, over 200 yards rushing. He made a big pass play for 50-some that set him up in overtime. And they're going to keep feeding that guy, and why not? So it's going to be, you're going to have to stop him and keep stopping him. And the Steelers are showing, they, as Matt said, Saquon Barkley, it doesn't matter who's in the backfield right now, they are collectively making an issue to stop the run. And if they do that in this game, I think Ryan Tannehill has been far better than I thought he could be. We saw him in 8 years of Miami, and it just never looked like this. But that run game, a healthy run game, giving him time, play action works, and they are proof positive that it does work. So they're going to stop the run, and I think they'll take their chances with Ryan Tannehill beating him down the field.
And a quick injury note on the Titans. Taylor Lewan tweeted that he tore his ACL and is out for the rest of the season. So we'll talk about the Steelers' injuries and also look back at their offensive performance yesterday here at Heinz Field when we return. We'll be right back. Steelers Nation, grab the best seat in your house and tune into this year's virtual Rock Steelers Style Far and Wide event presented by Neighborhood Ford Store, PNC Bank, and UPMC on Friday, October 23rd. Watch your favorite players and their families showcase the latest fashion trends, including those from the Steelers Pro Shop. This event is free to all fans and will be streamed live on Steelers.com and through Steelers social media. For more information, visit Steelers.com/RockSteelersStyle.
In the second half, come out, with field position and really just start running the ball and pounding it and grinding and, kind of our 4-minute offense with, a lot of time left. But, we've really excelled in that area of football so far this year. And that really is the 5 guys up front. Throw JC in there, plus Hawk coming in as a big guy, the tight end. So, we didn't have to throw many in the second half when you got a lead like that. It felt like old Bill Cowher offense.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface and Missi Matthews, along with a cast of characters to talk a little bit about the Steelers offense now. Wolf, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm going to take a guess that you really liked how much the Steelers were able to run the ball, wind down the clock in the second half.
There's no question about it. Look, Missy, one of the most beautiful moments in any offensive lineman's life is when you start that 5-fisted beatdown of the opponent. You start watching these guys try to struggle to get up off the ground. You see them go back into the huddle and the hands are on the hip and they're bent over. And you can hear them bickering with each other, arguing about who didn't do what and all that. And that's when you know you got them. And that's when you put the boots to them and you finish them off. And I thought that happened superbly in the second half. And I love James Conner, watching him run that ball because he finishes off a run the way it should be, moving forward, taking bodies with him, and taking no prisoners.
Matt, what did you like most about the Steelers offense yesterday?
No turnovers comes to mind immediately. I mean, with the Browns forcing 12 turnovers before that game to lead the league, that was a trap that they didn't fall into. And a lot of it, it obviously focuses on Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, they were very efficient running and passing. Something stood out to me, too, that set up that running game late in the game was they were really good on early down passing in the first half. They were throwing really efficiently to set up the run as opposed to the other way around. We're seeing the run game heavily influenced by Matt Canada with all the pre-snap motion. That's starting to come into play and really click even more. And Myles Garrett, I mean, I know he had a sack, but he didn't wreck things. They played him very, very well, and I thought that was extremely impressive.
Pomp, what stood out to you the most?
It's for me, it's still going to be Ben Roethlisberger because I think now you realize, and people all over the place realize how important quarterbacks are. You don't know that until you miss them, and then you realize just how much he means. And quite frankly, he should be comeback player of the year, if not for Alex Smith. I don't know how the league looks at that, but Smith is a remarkable story. But you're going to tell me a 38-year-old coming back from elbow surgery and the way he's done it. And I don't like these advanced stats. I know people use them, but QBR that they use for quarterbacks says Ben Roethlisberger's number 21 in the NFL. I'm sorry, that's just not the case. If I look at the other numbers that we're typically looking at, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception through 5 games, almost 70% completion, no mistakes. I mean, when you play that kind, these guys I'm sure will attest, man, that's a winning formula. And I think Roethlisberger is and will still be the key moving forward for everything.
Wolf, I know you like your Canadian bacon. Ben Roethlisberger said after 4 touchdowns last week, Chase Claypool wasn't sneaking up on anybody, but we still saw his impact on the offense yesterday.
Oh, there's no question about it. And he was very close to a 2-touchdown performance. And yet again, you see this young man with his hand in the pile on the kickoff at L3 going down after it. You love that. I mean, that is such it's so tremendously refreshing in this day and age where you have the mega superstars and ultra somewhat superstars and everything like that. And then you got this young man who just says, hey, I'm up for anything. Put me in. And you saw that one over, I believe it was Terrence Mitchell that he almost scored on. He ghosted Terrence Mitchell. I mean, Terrence Mitchell got turned around, had no idea where he was going, and Mapletron just launched for the end zone. To me, that was showing such exceptional, all the attributes you could put together, whether it's speed, reach, all that stuff, man, he's just something.
Matt, Deontay Johnson was able to do a little bit of work with some trainers on the field during pregame yesterday. No official word if he'll be available against the Titans, but what happens when he is brought back in the mix, in your opinion?
I still think he's the Steelers' #1 receiver, and maybe that distinction isn't as strong as it used to be around here. Who's one, who's two, all those type of things. But when you watch the tape, the defenses treat Deontay like he is the #1. They'll have their best corner follow him. They'll roll coverages his way. And that may have changed since he hasn't been on the field the last couple of weeks in terms of what Claypool brings now. But I mentioned James Washington earlier. I mean, he's a perfect example of if he's a little bit down the ladder in terms of, attention the defenses are going to give him, he's going to kill single coverage or lesser corners. And, Juju got a lot of attention yesterday. There's just so many options now, even without Johnson, and you throw him back in the mix, it's going to make a really good offense even better.
Pomp, I was going to ask you about Juju not putting up big fantasy numbers, but in terms of drawing those coverages, James Washington spoke to the media today and said that guys are, keying in on him. So what are you seeing from Juju in terms of what he's adding to this offense through these first 5 games?
Just a winning attitude. Someone, Missi, who's willing to do whatever it takes. And a lot of people were wondering about whether or not he could handle a role like this if he wasn't going to be the, quote, bell cow in the receiving game. Well, only 2 catches yesterday for 6 yards, 4 targets, but his blocking still remains very solid. He's willing to do pretty much whatever it takes as long as there are wins involved, and that's a nice thing to see. So when Deontay Johnson gets back, this core of receivers is dynamic, and it will make so that guys like Ebron and Vance McDonald had nothing yesterday in terms of catches, and he's fine with that. There are a lot of unselfish players right now. They're all going to have opportunities to get some open space in the passing game. So it's a dynamic offense, which should get even better.
All right, and a big opportunity on Sunday, the first of 3 games on the road. We mentioned Devin Bush's injury. Coach Tillman also said Marquise Pouncey left early with a foot injury, and also Mike Hilton is being evaluated for a shoulder. His press conference is tomorrow at noon, so we'll learn more about that. But thanks to you guys so much for joining me today here on the Extra Point to recap everything. Hope everybody has a great day, and I think Pomp's going to go and enjoy some of that wine again. So keep it coming. It's Victory Monday, Pomp. You got to keep it going. Okay.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We will see everybody back here next Monday to recap the Titans game.